Guys, Mr. Average UFC fan here today, and today I'd like to discuss my favorite one-sided beatdowns in the UFC. One-sided beatdowns I've seen over the years, fights where one fighter absolutely smashes the other fighter, whether they live up to trash talk that they've talked, or whether they're the guy getting revenge on the guy that was talking trash to them, whether it was a title fight, just fights where I've seen where a fighter gets absolutely mauled, as Joe Rogan likes to say, smashed and mauled. Well, these are my picks. My number one pick, hands down, sticks out the most to me because the guy who absolutely smashed the other guy ended up losing the fight due to a very, very poor judgment by a referee, in my opinion. Number one is Jon Jones over Matt Hamill. This is when Jon Jones was just coming up on a big run, had won a few fights. I think he beat Bader before this fight, or maybe it was after this fight. And Matt Hamill was supposed to be the guy to expose him. Expose his like funky striking he had and show that he's not as good as a wrestler as what people thought, but it ended up going the wrong way for Matt Hamill because Jon Jones clearly had the advantage on the feet. He showed that right from the get-go, absolutely smashed him with big shots. Matt Hamill tried to engage with the takedown. That ended up going the wrong way for him because Jon Jones took him down at will, dominated on the ground, ended up getting to a crucifix position at a couple points, landing big, huge elbows, big, huge shots, spinning shit, as Nick Diaz says when they were on the feet. Matt Hamill had no chance. He was beating him down, beating him down. The way the fight ended was Jon Jones smashing him out with elbows, absolutely destroying him and just taking it to him. And then all of a sudden the referee stopped it and was like, you seen two big blood pools in Matt Hamill's eyes. His shoulder was all fucked up. He was holding his shoulder. He couldn't get off the ground. It's like he didn't know where he was to. A lot of people said he was acting, but he was not acting. He was fucked right up. He got smashed. He looked so dejected. And it looked like the referee stopped the fight. People were just like, oh, sick, Jon Jones won. Jon Jones got up like he won, put his hands up, I'm pretty sure. And the referee was like, no, 1 point taken for elbows, illegal elbows. Those 12 to 6 elbows, supposedly, that are illegal, which is a ridiculous rule, because if you can hit somebody with an elbow from the side, you should be able to hit them from an elbow from any angle. Like an elbow coming on like an angle inverted like that would hurt you more than it would coming straight down, in my opinion. I don't know. I've never really been elbowed in the face like that from ground and pound. I've been punched in the face many times, but never elbowed like that, especially by somebody like Jon Jones. But I thought it was a clown stoppage, and then the doctor came in and checked on him. He couldn't continue. They said he couldn't continue, so I was like, okay, he can't continue. Jon Jones won the fight. Everybody thought Jon Jones won the fight. Ready to stand up. Everybody was all happy. Jon Jones this, Jon Jones that. They announced the fight. Jon Jones loses by disqualification due to 12 to 6 elbows because Steve Mazzagatti is a fucking tool. Like Dana White said, complete trash bag. I don't even think he's allowed to ref in UFC anymore. I haven't seen him in years. Worst referee in history. Him and Mario Yamazaki must be somewhere on a yacht together right now talking about all the guys they fucked over in UFC, laughing about it because the dude's a complete joke. Clown, should have never been a UFC referee. I hate him. Worst ever. Anytime he was judging a referee, or anytime he was refereeing a fight in UFC in that cage, I was like, man, get this fucking idiot out of here. I can't stand him. And that's my number one pick and my little rant for how much I hate Mazzagatti. My number two pick, this is a older one. Some newer fans might not remember this, but my number two pick is a series of 3 fights, but the fighter who won all 3 of them absolutely smashed the other guy. The other guy was past his prime, I would say. He's a bit of an older guy, but it's Tito versus Ken. All 3 fights, Tito fucked Ken up, threw him all over the ground, dominated him on the ground, smashed the guts out of him, all while Ken was the one who initiated the trash talk most of the time. Talked about how he was going to maul this kid, make him look like a fool, teach him a lesson, teach him you don't fuck with the old man, respect your elders and all this shit. Well, Tito didn't respect his elders, and the way he didn't respect his elders was by taking him down, smashing their face in, and TKing him over 3 fights in a row and embarrassing him in 3 fights in a row. And the third fight, Shamrock was like, oh, I'm going to hand the legacy off to Ortiz now. Sorry, buddy, you did that in the first fight. And the other 2, you just got embarrassed. Ridiculous. They were on the Ultimate Fighter together, and Shamrock was just a douchebag to him the whole while. Like, acted like he owed him some kind of respect or something like that. Ortiz didn't know you shit at the time. He was a world champion, and he smashed you, and he showed you what was up. That's all there is to it. So that's my number 2 pick. A guy smashing a guy over 3 fights. They weren't all the most dominant fights. 2 of them were really dominant, but they weren't all the most dominant fights you see in UFC history, where guys like Mal, they can barely get up off the ground. But to maul somebody 3 fights like that in a row, sick, to the same guy, crazy. Excuse me, folks. My number 3 pick is GSP versus BJ Penn 2. The number one fight, GSP smashed him. A lot of people say it was because of Greasegate, because he had too much Vaseline on. Well, to the people who said that, go watch number 2. He absolutely dominated GSP while being GSP dominated Penn while being watched for the grease and all that in the corner, making sure he wasn't putting undue Vaseline. It was 100% fair fight. Nobody was on PEDs. There was testing and all that. Well, that's up for debate because USADA wasn't around again, but people are always going to have that knock on GSP. Oh, he was on PEDs, this and that. Well, he wasn't on PEDs when he fought Bisping. He wasn't on PEDs when he was doing all the Olympic drug testing and nobody else was, and he was making everybody else try to do it, so I fucking hate that knock. It's ridiculous. But, he absolutely showed BJ Penn what's up in the second fight. BJ Penn thought he was going to be this like superior boxer when he went to the ground, a tricky jiu-jitsu guy who was going to catch him in a triangle because he didn't have grease. No, GSP implemented his jab. He hit him with all kinds of hard kicks. He took him down at will. When he did take him down, he pressed him up against the cage so BJ Penn couldn't go nowhere. He couldn't implement his funky rubber legs that he has where he puts you in a rubber guard and catches you in a triangle, or some kind of crazy Kimura or guillotine where he like catches your head and sucks you in and gets you in a guillotine. No, that ain't working on GSP. GSP pinned him up against the cage, used that big shoulder. At one point, he had him up against the cage in a clinch, and he was shoulder checking him in the face with his shoulder, like almost uppercuts to the face with a big old huge shoulder like GSP got. Absolutely smashed him. He was so pissed going into the third or fourth round, I think it was, that when he ended the round on top of BJ Penn, smashing his face, and he got up, he punched the cage, looked back at BJ Penn like, you're dead. There's no way you're getting out of this round. And literally the next round, or maybe in that round, BJ Penn's corner called it off because BJ Penn was done. He was beat to a pulp. BJ Penn takes it pretty good, I must say, for a guy to take severe beating like he does. He doesn't swell out a lot. His face doesn't look that bad. He has bled a few times, but he doesn't bleed as much as some of his opponents have. Like when he fought Joe Stevens, he hit Joe Stevens a couple times, and that guy was like squirting blood everywhere. BJ Penn has took beatings like that himself, and he doesn't look like Mr. Potato Head when he's done. He just looks like BJ Penn with a beat up face. It's crazy. Because the way GSP modeled him, he should have looked way worse, but you could tell he was fucked up, and his corner wouldn't let him continue, so there was no way he was doing anything. So that's my number 3. And it's not only is it my number 3, it's my favorite on the list personally, but I couldn't put it above what Jones did to Hamill. My number 4, excuse me. This guy's going to be on the list twice, back to back. But my number 4 is Silva versus Griffin. I think this may have, it was Silva's second fight at 205 after he KO'd James Irving in a spectacular fashion. It was Silva versus Forrest Griffin. Forrest Griffin was a former 205 champ. Silva was the current 185 champ at the time. And Silva absolutely took it to him. One of the most embarrassing, most one-sided fights you'll ever see. Silva implementing the jab. Everything Forrest Griffin moved looked so slow because of how fast Anderson Silva was. There was one point when Forrest Griffin was throwing like this 3-4 combination. He was throwing 2 lefts and a right, and Silva was just ducking, bobbing, weaving, coming up under it. Griffin tried to throw like a quick knee to catch him when he was going down, and Silva just popped the head back and bobbed and weaved. It was amazing. It was one of the most spectacular head movement displays in a short period of time in a fight like that, a big fight like that. Where Silva just dominated. He dropped Griffin a couple times with shots that didn't even look that big, pretty much jabs. Like it did. Silva was playing with him like a sparring session, like he wasn't even putting much effort into it. And the way he ended the fight was so embarrassing. Was Forrest Griffin swinging for the fences with his head down, didn't know what was going to go, and Silva just stepped back, bop. When Joe Rogan described it about how he ended it, like, oh, he just looked like he threw a jab, like it didn't look like there was much to it. I was almost in the knots laughing because going into the fight, people were like, oh, how's Silva going to deal with Griffin's size? Like, he's never fought a guy that powerful. Yeah, Griffin's a bit slower, but how's he going to deal with that power when Griffin actually hits him? For the people who thought that, Griffin couldn't hit him. Like, it doesn't matter how much power you have, how strong you are, who you've got up against. And I've never really known Forrest Griffin as a knockout puncher myself, or like a big power puncher anyways. And that was pretty much what people were saying going into the fight. How can Anderson handle Griffin's power and the pace he puts on you and his cardio and all that? Well, he handled it fine. He absolutely dominated. One of the most embarrassing fights for a fighter to take. Griffin ran into the cage after it, which he's done before in Tito Ortiz fight, which is so bad. Dana White hated him for it for the longest while. I can't say he hates him for it because Dana White owes a lot to Forrest Griffin, but it was really bad show of sportsmanship. But he did get embarrassed. It was one, if you want to see a fight that you can sit back and be like, holy fuck, and like laugh. that is one of the craziest fights ever. Silva just teeing up on looked like a little sparring session in front of like 50,000 people or whatever was there. And Silva's just like, you know what, I'm going to pop you with a couple of jabs, hit you with a head kick, step back, kick you in the guts, let you come in again. Bob and weave, bang, jab, goodbye, good night, see you later. I think he may have made it to the second round. I think, because it's been a while since I watched the fight, but it sticks out in my head a lot. I think he may have made it to the beginning of the second round when Silva knocked him out, but maybe not. Maybe it was the first round, but either way, it was very embarrassing. Very poor display by Forrest Griffin, and I think he learned a lot from that fight because he had a couple really good fights after that. And I was really surprised that he lost that because when Forrest Griffin beat Rampage Jackson, when Rampage was on top, it was crazy. Like, he implemented an excellent game plan, and I thought myself, if he did have any chance of beating Silva, it was going to be with that pace and with a really good game plan, and clearly that wasn't the case. He had a terrible game plan, and he got fucked right up. My number 5 pick, Silva again. This is going to be a bit shorter because he came in, he just demolished Lieben. Lieben was a guy known for his chin, known for a guy taking a beating. He, a couple fights previous to that, fighting Thierry, he was getting smashed, he was getting rocked, and he was coming back in the cage, bang, over the top. Lieben KOs him. That's Lieben's style. That crazy chin, he'll take 5 to hit you with 1 that'll knock you out. Well, he tried that with Silva, and once again, he couldn't touch Silva, and even when he did, get a couple jabs in it, so there was nothing. Silva fucked him right up. Came in, landed a big knee, got him up against the cage in a clinch, and added another big knee, an overhand left, a couple more knees, and had Lieben really fucking wobbled, and he came in, I think he head kicked him, overhand left, bang, fight over, 49-second KO of one of the best chins in the UFC at the time, a guy who was in war after war. And it wasn't wars that were wearing on him because he was finishing the fights and he had lots of time going into the Silva fight. Silva was relatively unknown, and that fight, that performance was so impressive over a guy who was a really good top contender at the time, top 5, top 10 for sure at the time, Chris Lieben, with an insane chin, knocked him out 49 seconds. That vaulted Anderson Silva into a title fight over against Rich Franklin, which he fucking dominated, pretty much the same thing. Took him a round and a half, I think, to KO Franklin. Same thing in the second fight, did the exact same thing. Knee to the jaw, overhand fucking left, knee to the jaw again. His clinch game back then was insane. That was the Silva I love. The Silva that was hungry, came in UFC, wanted to show people what's up. Super entertaining, amazing. Like when he fought Bellator, so entertaining, so amazing. My number 6 is a guy a lot of people give a lot of hate on. He's in WWE and stuff. I think he's really entertaining myself, even though he's a big old roid machine. Brock Lesnar versus Frank Mir 2. Brock Lesnar versus Frank Mir 1 was a joke orchestrated by Steve Mazzagatti. Once again, I can't even go into it because I'll be ranting for 5 minutes on this video. But Brock Lesnar versus Frank Mir 2 was a rematch. Brock Lesnar really, really wanted to avenge, and boy, did he ever. He fought one of the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioner heavyweights of all time. Guys submitted some big, big names in the UFC, and he came in, he dominated him. He took him down on the ground and pounded him, and when they were on the feet, he owned them with jabs, really quicker, nicer jabs, more power to it, and he train wrecked him, came in, took him down, pinned him up against the cage, put his shoulder against his head, and just those big old fucking, what was it Joe Rogan called them? Lunch boxes. Those big lunch boxes, bang, bang, bang. Every shot you seen Mir's nose swell a little more. It was like Pinocchio for all those laws he was telling him coming up to the fight what he was going to do. They all caught up with him, and his nose blew out like a balloon. And his face swole up, and he looked terrible. My favorite saying, he looked like Sloth from the Goonies. He really did. He looked like a monster. Like, if I was a little kid and I seen Frank Mir 10 minutes after that fight with that swelling, I would have ran and fucking been terrified. Got my dad to try and beat him up or something, you know? But, yeah, that fight was crazy. Brock Lesnar owned him, but he acted so bad after the fight. He told Bud Light off, I'm going to drink Coors Light because Bud Light won't give me nothing. I'm going to drink Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing. I'm pretty sure Bud Light is a UFC sponsor, not an individual fight sponsor here, Bud, unless you do commercials for him. That was really bad look for Brock Lesnar, and he fucking clearly got chewed up by the head UFC guys because he apologized like crazy in the conference. That was crazy. My last but not least, this is a recent fight. I made a video about it recently, but I had to put it in there. It was so amazing what Edson Barbosa did to Dan Hooker. He destroyed Dan Hooker. Yes, number 14 ranked. Barbosa's number 5. But Hooker was the favorite coming into this fight. He was on a big win streak, beat some big names. Barbosa, people were writing him off because he'd lost some fights to the best of the best. The top guys. He's number 5 for a reason. He's true number 5. Could easily be in the top 3. But he lost some big fights before. I think he lost. I can't remember Barbosa's last loss, to be honest. I really can't. I think he might have lost to Tony Ferguson or Khabib. Khabib was the last person he lost to, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, and other than that, he's world class, and his striking showed. He absolutely showed Dan Hooker what's up. Dan Hooker came in as on a big win streak, not as many fights in UFC, but really, really hyped. Was somehow the favorite in this fight. 14th over 5th makes no sense to me. And Barbosa fucking showed him that you should never do that, because he chewed his leg up in the first round. He made it look like he got hit with golf clubs, baseball bats. It was every color of the rainbow: green, blue, purple, terrible. Second round, he was a little bit gassed, but he got taken down for a minute or two, and then he fucked Hooker up with so many shots. Hooker got a chin like I've never seen. He took at least 10 uppercuts, I counted. Countless overhand rights and lefts. Amazing combinations. Every time he tried to lean down to get away from Barbosa, he was catching a knee to the face. He was taking baseball bat kicks to the body. He was swelling all over. At the second round, he didn't even bring a stool. They sat him down in the corner. The doctor had to come in and ask him all kinds of questions. Were you two? What year was it? Hooker was mangled. Personally, they shouldn't have let him come into the third round. His corner should have thrown the towel. He was in no state to fight. He was out of it. He's a fighter. He's not going to quit no matter what. Out of it, in it. He's never out of it in his mind. And when he went to the third round, DC and him were saying the same thing. They were saying this fight could be stopped at any time. The only thing that's keeping this fight going is the heart of Dan Hooker and the poor judgment of this referee in his corner. And I would 100% agree, because he got mauled in the third round. He got hit with body kick after body kick. Eventually a spinning body kick and another big kick ended it, followed up by a few shots. The referee should have ended it way fucking sooner. It was terrible. I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Hooker got broken ribs, all kinds of leg damage after that. I wouldn't be surprised if he's never the same after that, to be honest. That fight could have took years off that guy's life. It was insane. And as for my honorable mentions goes to all the beatings Kane put on JDS. Fucking absolutely smashed the guy. What Anderson Silva did to Rich Franklin. Tank Abbott versus John Manhuda back in the day, when he got him in a crucifix. Bang, bang, bang. Fucked him up. And no, it wasn't a crucifix. It was he came in and he hit him with one big overhand right, and the guy went down and he was looking like a robot. His arms were up in the air. He looked crazy. He looked terrible. He got mangled. And another one would have to be, what was my other one? I really like Travis Brown over Andrei Arlovski, but that wasn't more of a one-sided beatdown. It kind of was. Arlovski gave it to him in that fight. I really like that one. And yeah, that's it for my honorable mentions. I can't really think of a lot more off the top of the head. Oh, Matt Hughes over Hoist Gracie. He showed the new era, what it can do to the old era, that you don't just bring in a jiu-jitsu game with shitty boxing. You need more. It's MMA. You don't. Back in the day, people didn't know truly what MMA was, but you need more. And yeah, that's my top 5. That's my top favorite one-side beatdowns in the UFC. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. This is Mr. Average UFC Guy. Have a nice day.